Hey, what's up guys, this is RSRT264, and if you're a fan of Angry Birds, everybody knows the legendary Commonwealth plush line, either the backpack clips, the 5-inch plushies, or the 8-inch plushies, even bigger like the giant mighty eagle. Everyone knows the legendary Commonwealth Angry Birds line. In my opinion, the greatest plushies of all time. When it comes to plush lines, you don't get better than the Commonwealth Angry Bird plushies. But there was another company, there was another line of Angry Bird plushies that was made at the time, but I don't feel like anybody talks about it anymore. And I'm not referring to, the Angry Birds Tactic plushies. These are cool, but I don't remember seeing these in stores. I do remember seeing the Angry Birds finger puppet pencil topper plushies. Does anybody else remember these? I remember these. These were awesome. So here we are. I have the entire collection of Angry Birds pencil toppers. Yeah, there aren't that many in the collection to begin with, but I did want to go over the entire collection, which is basically the classic set of plushies and the space plushies. And I do have one example with the card still attached, fortunately. So, see Angry Birds Space. And these were not made by Commonwealth. These were made by, if the focus ever kicks in, come on. The focus is killing me. It's not working. The focus is killing me. There we go. This is made by MZB Imagination. Yeah. So as you can clearly see, there is nothing about Commonwealth anywhere. And it's out of focus again. As you can see, it has nothing to do with Commonwealth on the tag. So yeah, this is a totally legit Angry Birds plush line, not made by Commonwealth. So let me organize these guys a little bit better, and we'll get right into taking a look at all of them. Alright, here we are. We have the pencil toppers. I'm going to start with the classic set, and then we can move on from there. So, first and foremost, here's red. That looks pretty good. Then you got Terrence. He's really pissed off. All the dots and stuff, and the tail. Then you got Ruby. Ooh, this one's missing its tail. And you got Chuck. Pretty good. And then you got Hal, which he looks kind of warped, I guess. Really huge beak. I find it funny, like it's so much bigger than all the other birds. But yeah, it's fish. I really like that tail. Then you got Blue, one of the blues. Then you got Bomb. Then you got Matilda. They all look pretty good. And then, while you guys are around, you got King Pig, which actually looks pretty okay, but kind of like that bootleg one I reviewed. It doesn't have all the jewels around his crown, just a couple of them, and it's made of a flat, just yellow material. And then we have a fully intact helmet pig. Something Commonwealth did not give us, and I wish they did. Looks pretty good. Then I got a couple different minion pigs. I've got this one, was the earlier design, and this one is really, really warped, especially in the nose. Holy smokes. Yeah, it looks like he got squished. Then they have a slightly updated design with a black tag, which definitely looks better. That snout really sticking out, though. I don't know why they decided to do that. But anyways, and just for fun, let's quickly, I'll do a quick, side-by-side comparison. Alright, so as you can see, red is significantly bigger. And this is what the size comparison with the backpack clip is. So, significantly smaller. but it still has, you know, very similar detail. It's got the underbelly, you know, it's got the expression, everything. The shape of it is kind of funky. It's not exactly a smooth sphere, or more of a spherical shape, unlike the Commonwealth plushies, at least with red. So that's pretty good. Next we have blue with his Commonwealth counterpart, and yeah, it's pretty close. Not a whole lot. I think like kind of looks like a missile of some kind. Yeah, the shapes of these aren't the best, and I do have the backpack clip to do a side comparison. So the shape of the eyes is a little bit different with the orange, and how this one, you know, naturally goes into it. This sticks out a little bit, but yeah, that's pretty good. And again, side comparison. All right. Next time we have Chuck and little Chuck and the backpack clip. As you can see, the color orange is pretty much the same. The eyes and the detail and everything. They did this one really well. Even got the shape really well. Yeah. So I think objectively speaking, Chuck and red probably came out some of the best. Alright, moving on. Now this is Bond next to his backpack clip. And just because I kind of like flexing on people, I have a 5-inch Bombird with the white dot, and I think they did a really good job with this one too. In fact, I think they actually did a better job than the backpack clip in some ways. I don't know exactly why, just I don't know, the way they did the black or something with the eyes. Something about it. I think it's kind of, you know, it's got a lighter, the gray underbelly is more defined, which I kind of prefer, especially when you take a look at. It's only like the Shock Bombird prototype plush, has a very nice light underbelly. So yeah, ultimately I think they did a really good job with this one. Alright, moving on to Matilda. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say other than they did a really good job with it. Shape looks good, kind of have almost looks like it's got that split beak, kind of like how the real Matilda does. So don't really have a whole lot to say other than they made it look really good. That's it. Alright, moving on. Next we have Hal, and this is a pretty good comparison with the Commonwealth plush. Now this is the version 1, and I don't have a version 2. I do have the version kind of 1.5, so it's kind of a slightly better comparison, but he's using the chrome design, which is the less angrier version. Yeah, they got the wing, and got the tail feather detail correct, and the top feather correct, but the shade of green is pretty much the same as the pigs, and just slightly different. But I don't know, I still think the green could have been a little bit darker, and the beak looks a little oversized. I don't know, maybe I'm just nitpicking, but I think this is one of the weaker ones. So, anyways, moving on to Ruby. And here's the Commonwealth plush, and as you can see, this one actually came out really different. Very similar to red, as you can see, very similar, same red, but it's still got both eyebrows in the same position as the Commonwealth plush, and it's got the yellow bow. The difference is in the color of the eyelashes. These are kind of a purpley pink, and the Commonwealth plush, it's a orangish red. So yeah, besides that, really good job. It's kind of interesting because this is a character that we don't really see often in the Angry Bird games, so it's nice to have some representation. So, anyways, moving on to Terrence, which I think is the most interesting of all the backpack clips because he looks pissed. He looks great. He's got the wrinkles, he's got the dots, he's got everything, and let's just do a quick side-by-side comparison with the Commonwealth one. I just so happen to have the 8-inch plush, so it still has the wrinkles and the dots and everything. But on the backpack clip, here on the finger plush, you can see those dots are way bigger, way more pronounced than the angrier eyebrows than the just kind of frustrated looking ones. But yeah, I really like this one. That's probably my favorite because it's different from the Commonwealth one, and it looks good. It looks mad, looks angry, ready to go kick ass and take names. Yeah, really good. Alright, let's move on to the pigs. Alright, here's King Pig, so yeah, it looks okay. And then here's the Commonwealth plush, right next to it with a really nice golden crown with all the jewels on it. So yeah, very interesting. But I don't really have too much to say other than, yeah, it's pretty good looking. I think that's all I really gotta say. Moving on to the Minion Pig. I don't know which one I prefer. I think I prefer this one because the snout's a little bit smaller and it kind of matches a little bit better. But then we're gonna have the Commonwealth plush, which I'm now realizing is just a slightly lighter shade of green. I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but it is. So, and yeah, these little ones look really good. This one, oh, I don't know what's up with that nose, but that also looks pretty good in comparison. So, that's all I really gotta say. Last in the classic set, last but not least, the Helmet Pig. And to do a side-by-side comparison. So, very different indeed, but they both look really good. I really like the fact that a company was willing to make a non-damaged Helmet Pig. It would have been cool if Commonwealth were to make one of those. I like the straps, brown straps. I believe that's what they look like in the game compared to these yellowish gold ones, which are always kind of weird. But I do like the Commonwealth plush. A little bit smaller than the other ones, but it does look good. And it's kind of cool having two different Helmet Pigs. I just wish this one was a little bit bigger. But anyways, yeah. So overall, I think when it comes to the classic set, I actually think these are really good. I think Hal's kind of the weakest plush in the line. And I don't know, maybe. Regardless of their shapes and their odd quirks, they're definitely interesting plushies to have in my collection. And let's just see how the space plushies fare, because I have a lot to say about them. Alright, here we go. I have the complete space collection. And I'm going to see if I can't keep this really short and sweet, because I know this video is probably getting really long. So, let's quickly go over the birds. So, this Ice Bird, Laser Bird, Lightning Blue, Red, which I think looks really good. They did a great job with this one. Then you have Monster Terrence and Fire Bombird. And the interesting thing about Fire Bombird is this right here, his little egg, asteroid egg, is actually made of plastic. Right there. So let's quickly get into the side-by-side comparisons. But right before we get to that, I do think it's interesting that I have one with a tag still on, or the hang tag that would hang on stores. And I find it interesting that the detail on this plush and this plush don't entirely match. I thought that was interesting to point out that this plush that came in just, with a hang tag, and this plush probably came in a box, has slightly different detail. Interesting. And they both look different from the regular Terrence, who looks way angrier, but I guess somebody from Angry Birds told him, Rovio told him to make the eyebrows match with the in-game representation. Kind of like this one. Or like this one. Yeah, so I have a Monster Terrence plush. So I find that quite interesting, the different little design quirks of these plushies. So anyways, now that we've done a side-by-side with the Monster Terrence plush, let's get into side-by-side comparisons with everyone else. Alright, starting off with Super Space Redbird. As you can see, it's pretty much identical. The lighter shade of red's a little bit lighter on the pencil topper, but still looks really nice. No complaints here. Alright, the Lightning Blue Bird is actually a lighter shade of blue than the Commonwealth plush, but still pretty identical in, pretty much everything. Yeah, found that interesting. So, yeah. Don't have a whole lot to say. Moving on. And here is Chuck. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on with this eyeball situation, but it looks like a seam or something came loose. I really don't know what that is. I don't know if it's a manufacturing error or something. I don't think it's supposed to be there, but anyways, just like the actual Commonwealth plush, pretty much the same shade of purple, although this one's just a little bit darker. Detail on the hair is pretty much the same. Cape's pretty much the same. But for the emblem, for this one, it's just a piece of felt. And this one is, nothing overly interesting, but anyways, pretty good, besides that weird little thing growing in the middle. Moving on. Alright, here's Fire Bombird, here's the Commonwealth plush, and here's the little backpack, the little pencil top plush. I keep wanting to call them backpack plushies, they're not. So as you can see, the fire is pretty much the same, and the capes are pretty much the same material. Slightly darker shade on the little one. And then they both have, an emblem. This one's just sewn in, which looks really good, and this one's a little bit of plastic. As you can see, color-wise, the little one is significantly brighter on camera. I really like the addition of the little plastic emblem. It looks nice. Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. Moving on. And here's Icebird. I don't have a whole lot to say. The eyebrows pretty much match. The color of the beaks is slightly different. And, he's got a little tail. Doesn't got a little tail. So, don't have a whole lot to say, other than they both look nice. I wish I had more to say about some of these plushies. I really don't. But they look nice. Alright, moving on to the actual interesting ones. Now, these plushies right here, I know you've already seen them. I would have paid so much money for Commonwealth to actually make these. These right here are the frozen pigs. And I believe this is one of the only companies I even actually tackled frozen pig plushies. And they look phenomenal. So, and the same issue here, there's no little jewel on the back. But that's okay. Still got kind of like a cheap piece of icicle, couple little pieces of icicle. Looks like it's frozen. Really good. I mean, these look amazing. If you want anything from this, any of these pencil toppers, I highly recommend these, because Commonwealth did not make these to retail. Now, they did make a couple of prototypes, and hopefully I'll remember to show them on screen, but they're basically just blue versions of the pigs, and these are pretty much the same, but you can tell they're significantly different. I really, really love the added detail, the little icicles coming off them. They absolutely look great. I wish I had more to say, but these look absolutely amazing. And if you're a fan of Angry Birds, especially Angry Birds Space, I highly recommend tracking these down and picking them up. The other plushies are really cool, but this, to me, is the showstopper of the whole thing. So, in conclusion, I think these plushies are awesome, and I highly recommend checking them out. And see if you can get some for yourself, especially these frozen pigs. They look absolutely fantastic. Too bad they never made any more plushies after this. They made these and sent them to stores, and just kind of like everything else, after 2013 rolled around, Angry Birds just kind of stopped making really awesome merchandise. But fortunately, we have these, and they go for relatively cheap online, so if you have the financial means, or if you really want them, I highly recommend them. Anyways, guys, this is Ryan Fair 226 sign. My amigos, peace. Have a great day. Hey, what was that for? You spent 3 months. 3 months. You do realize we're at the end of August, and you said you were going to work on this video. When? Oh yeah, right at the beginning of May. And you never did? Hey, man, things happen. Life got in the way. VTuber stuff came up. Now I'm taking a look at the rest of the pig plushies that I acquired for this video. This one looks infinitely better. I don't know why I decided to use one that was so warped. Oh well. Anyways. And, well, I guess it's kind of the bloopers, so just in case anybody was curious of, kind of how these videos get done and, what's off to the side. A mountain of plushies that I have to put back so I can actually use my bed to sleep. But anyways, kind of interesting what you see, what you don't, you know, you kind of focus on, focus in on, where you want to see, and just kind of the ability to like literally turn, and here's, the rest of the plushies right here. So yeah, kind of cool little filmmaking, because ultimately what matters most is what you see on camera. So anyways, pretty cool, huh? Yeah, so I got a little light up here and stuff. I got a little light over there. Yeah, so. Oh man, it has been a while. I'm very glad I was able to get this video done after so long. I'm sorry about the delay. Stuff came up. And then, college just kicked in and getting all that, and friends and all kinds of vehicle issues and this, that, and the other. But yeah, it's definitely nice coming back to Angry Birds. It's, comfortable, it's soft, it's squishy. Always good memories with Angry Birds, the original games and stuff. So, and it's fun talking about. I think that for me, when it comes to like franchises that are like from childhood that are fun to talk about, I think for me personally, when it comes to like Halo or Star Wars, I enjoy talking about Halo and Star Wars, but I think Angry Birds has been done dirty less than Halo and Star Wars, especially with stuff like the Acolyte, and then Halo 5, and then the Halo Infinite, and the lack of content with Halo Infinite. Yeah, you can make the argument Angry Birds had a worse death, but I don't know. The plushies are still fun to talk about, so. Anyways, it's nice getting back to this, and yeah, I don't really know what happened to my hand, so probably a spider bite or something, so. Alright, well, I gotta put all this stuff away so I can go to sleep. Anyways, guys, this is where I start T2 647 Amigos. Peace, and have a great day.